Okay, we have now made our cuts on our stretchers. They are both exactly 14.5 long. We can check that with a tape measure. They line up pretty darn good. More importantly, they're the exact same length. Now, when we go back to this sheet, we now need to make marks for our dados. Okay, the dados are, let's see, best viewpoint of those, are these notches. It's a notch that goes all the way through the board. With this drawing, it's on the opposite side, so it's a little hard to see, but it's a notch that's cut into the board, and it's even at an 8-degree angle. So we've got to make those. And it's pretty easy, and it looks like there's a lot there, but the machine, the table saw that's gonna do that, has a lot of it set up for you already. So all you basically need to figure out is where to put it, and the saw is gonna do the rest. Okay, so when I'm looking at this sheet, a lot of the information I need to know is just right up here. Okay, first it needs to be 1 3/4 inches over. So I can take a ruler, and I can actually do it from this way if I want to. I could say 1 3/4 inches, and I can make a mark. And then 3/4 over from that, I can make a mark. Okay. And as far as how high to kind of fully make that, you could look down here and see that it's 1/4 inch. So that would be the height of the dado. So we could then mark that. Okay. So all I'm asking for before you can go over there is to make that boxy C shape. Okay. And you're going to have to do that for all 4. So you could do this if you want. You know, remeasuring it. You know, if you made a mistake and you're just copying, you're gonna make the mistake a bunch of times. So it's always good to double check and make sure things are in fact 1 3/4 inches. Pretty close. Okay. Cool. And then we can go to the other side. What do I want to use? Okay, we'll do this way again. Make sure everything's on the same edge. 1 3/4 inches. And then 3/4 inches from that would be here. And then how is my height? About there. Okay. That's not bad. And again, if you're confident your dimensions are right, it never hurts to check it again. But okay. All right, so that is where the saw is going to line up to make our cut, to make our 8-degree dados, 1/4 inch into the material. So now you can go over to the other table saw and make this cut. Now we got to make sure the table is set correctly. There is a few other classes that could potentially be other hours that are using different settings. So if you wanted to check, some things to look at, hopefully my camera angle helps us out here. You want to be 3/4 inch across like you measured, so that looks good. And then the height, as we talked about, was 1/4. So again, hopefully I get a camera angle that works for you guys here. You could also check your board, make sure things look good there too, line up your marks. So this saw is set correctly from what we can tell, so we'll put the guard back in place, very important. Okay, so now we gotta line this up and make some dados. Okay, I have 2 miter gauges here. One is tipped 8 degrees to the right, one is tipped 8 degrees to the left. You gotta make sure you use the right one for the correct dado, otherwise your dados might go inwards, and if that happens, your legs on your step stool, which are supposed to go out, which would stabilize you, would actually then go inwards, and it'd make for a pigeon-toed project and not very stable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna visualize. If I tip my board to the left using, let's say, this one, my fingers representing the dado blade, okay, that would then come out. So that looks good. That looks like the one I want to use. So I'm going to swap this. put this one in place. So that's the correct angle. Now I gotta look and line up my part with my lines. That actually looks pretty good. That was lucky. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So again, hopefully my camera angle works for you guys here, but I'm trying to line up the pencil marks with the saw blade. That looks pretty good. Good thing, I know this is kind of a lot of setup and thinking, but once you have this set up once, you're kind of good to go. So, all right, we're ready to make our dado here. And when we got it set up to do the left one, we're also going to do the left one for that one. So again, kind of once we get set up here, we're ready to go. All right, proper hand technique. You're gonna put your thumbs back here. You're gonna put some fingers up top, some fingers up front, whatever combination feels comfortable to you. Okay, so I like to put a few fingers up here, and I'll put a few over here. What my fingers are doing is good down pressure on the table. I do not want this coming up, because that saw blade's coming up underneath it, so it's gonna want to do that. Okay, also keep it tight against the fence. With a stack of blades, as you saw, it might want to make one cut and then have the board shift to follow the other one. So this board can drift during a cut when you make a dado, so you want to keep it tight against the fence. So good down pressure, good pressure against the fence, and then tight against the miter gauge. You know, you don't want this tipping one way or the other. So we'll make our left and our other left. Pause quick. Yep, looks like we did it right. You know, the legs are gonna bow outwards, so that's what we want it to do. Angle looks good. This, you know, our leg is gonna go in here, but we can, you know, these came from the same board. So it's, you know, if you test the thickness on your other stretcher, you know your leg's gonna work. So that actually is maybe even too good of a fit. This project's gonna come together pretty snug. If yours has a little bit more wiggle room than that, that's perfectly fine. It means your project's gonna come together easier. But we'll run with that. We'll set that up. Now, we still have the other side to do. We gotta make this angle. We could do everything over again. Move this one over to here, move that one to there, take that whole fence and move it over to here, but that's a lot of work. And we wanna, you know, actually, you know, we made two lefts, let's say, but that's not actually how it's gonna come together. It's gonna be a left and a right have to match up perfectly. So let's do this without changing the fence setting at all. You know, this is where having your stretchers be exactly the same length really comes in handy, because what we're gonna do is just flip it, you know, because the distance between here and the distance between here and here should be the exact same if your boards are the exact same length. So this is where it's gonna come in handy. And again, we changed miter gauges, so let's see what that does. Okay, that's gonna tip it this way, which would have your leg bow outward in that dado, so that's good. You want them opposite, you want the angles opposite here, so everything looks correct here. So let's check it out. Looks pretty good. Make sure you take your time, cut slow. I think I'm doing things a little quick for the camera, but you know, I got a little bit of chipping there, but that's okay. The top's gonna go there, you're never gonna see it. Cool, they oppose each other. They both go down and out. They're opposite of the outward angles like it's supposed to be. If we put these together, like a leg's gonna go in here, leg's gonna go in here, looks like everything's lining up good. Everything lines up. We are ready for the next video where we'll be marking our hole locations and drilling some holes.